Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. So today's video, go back and watch some of the 300 blackout stuff that I just got done posting. I think there's 4 or 5 videos on that. But today is going to be a different topic, different subject. But a buddy of mine had reached out to me. I had worked up some hunting loads for him. This was back, I think, 2 years ago, maybe. I don't know, lose track of time, but it's been a while. I loaded him up some 308. I believe he's got a Browning 308 bolt action rifle, and he wanted some hunting loads. That was the rifle his wife was going to use for the hunting season, and he doesn't reload or anything. So he was like, hey, instead of buying factory ammo, going sighting it in and all that, can you just work up some loads for me, and then I'll be good to go. So I did that, and we basically honed in on a load that shot pretty well. We were averaging, it was under an inch. We were around 3/4 of an inch with the particular load that we were using, which was Varget, was the powder we were using. And so really good results. His wife, I think she killed a couple of deer with it. I don't know how many deer. I know he sent me a few pictures, but I don't know if, she killed multiple deer or whatever. I have no idea. But this season is coming up pretty soon. It'll be kicking off in November. And so he actually sent me a text, said, hey, would you mind working up that load again? We're running pretty low. So do you think you could go ahead and load some more up? That way we can go sight the rifle in, just make sure, double check everything before the season starts and verify everything. Well, the problem was, so I had the load data, I had it written down. That's another good thing. Always document everything you do. If you're new to reloading, just go ahead and get in the habit of doing that. So I was able to find the load information. The problem is Varget, if it's online, I just don't want to have to pay a hazmat fee, to be honest with you. That's not necessarily the big issue. I've got a little bit of Varget left. I could probably still pull off the load and no problem. I could load him up a decent amount more to get him through probably the next couple of years. But the biggest issue is the brass that I used. At the time, I used Sig Sauer 308 brass, which is pretty good brass. I've always had really good luck with it. I bought some from Cabela's. This was 4 or 5 years ago or whenever it was, and had really good luck with it in 308 and 223. And so I just worked up a load using some Sig 308 brass. Well, no one has that. I don't know. Some websites say that it's been discontinued, so I don't know if Sig just stopped making it. You're not going to find it, or at least I'm not able to find it. And so that kind of led me down the road of, okay, well, I'm just going to have to work up a new load, for his rifle, because I'm switching brass. And so if I'm switching something as crucial as the brass, then that's going to impact case capacity, which will have a huge impact on the load itself. So I can't just go back and duplicate the load using a different brand of brass, right? So what I decided to go with this time to avoid that issue in the future is I went with, if it'll focus, hocus pocus, Starline. There we go. This, just in the reloading I've done and using this and 308, various other calibers, this is extremely good brass, overly good brass for the price that you pay. I went through, measured, I bought 100 pieces from Mid-South Shooter Supply, got that in. I measured these 50 that are sitting in the block. I measured those 50, and the overall length variation, I think, was 2.5 thousandths on the overall length. So that to me is pretty impressive. I think it was 2.5 or 3 thousandths, one of the two, in overall length. And they were all, the good thing was it was like 2.004 up to 2.007. And he had a couple down at 4 and 1 or 2 up at 7, and then everything else was 2.005 or 2.006. So it's all right there. at the trim length, or what you trim it back to, 2.005. So really good stuff, super consistent. Yeah, so I wanted to basically switch the load over to something that I know Starline Brass is not going away. That's what they do. They make brass. SIG, not so much. They're not necessarily a brass company. So I felt like it was probably a smart move, even given the current state of you can't find anything, right, component-wise for reloading. I was able to find some 308, Starline 308 brass. Might as well go ahead and make the switch, work up a good load, and then in theory, shouldn't have to worry about components moving forward, right? If I just go ahead and make this switch now. And the load that we had worked up, the bullet we used was this guy. The Sierra Game Kings 165 grain hollow point boat tail. These things are super devastating on deer. And that was why we went with it. It was just the track record. My brother's a huge fan of this bullet right here. He's had great success with it. And so that was really, why I even loaded this up to begin with in the initial load development for my buddy's rifle, was because of the track record of that bullet. So that was why I went with that. I've already talked about why I switched to Starline Brass. And again, initially I had Varget. I'm going to switch to Accurate 2520. And simply because I have more of this available right now than I do Varget. I could go back and try to replicate the Varget load, but I just don't have enough to do extensive testing, right? If I get in there, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a 10-shot velocity test, like the Satterley load method. So I'm going to go through and do that with the first 10 shots. And then we'll try to hone in on a good, velocity node or velocity area, load up some 5-shot groups. If we can come in sub MOA, and we'll go back, load them up again, repeat it. If we get some confirmation groups sub MOA, we're done. We're gonna call it good. If our velocity numbers are stable, then we'll work up basically a ballistics chart from a buddy and everything, give that information to him and all that. So that was really the reason for the switch. I don't necessarily use this powder in anything else. So I have some sitting around. And I use Western Powder's load guide for the information, for the data, and they have some pretty good velocities with it. So that was why we decided to go with that powder. There you go. I did check, or at least Accurate or Western Powders. They have a little frequently asked questions tab on their website, and they talk about Accurate 2520 and the temperature stability, and they show a 3 to 5% fluctuation, plus or minus 3 to 5% fluctuation in velocity. I believe that's what it was. It was like 3 to 5% velocity change due to temperature, but their testing is done at negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit up to, I think it's like 125 degrees Fahrenheit. So, again, here in North Alabama, the temperatures at which we generally hunt at, you're going to have some mornings where it's down into the teens and that type of thing, and in the 20s, 30s. That's more generally the type of weather, talking Fahrenheit. That's typically the temperatures that we're talking about, right? Going deer hunting. So 20s, 30s, 40s degree Fahrenheit. So I feel like the temperature stability is going to be there for this powder. So I'm not concerned about that. Yeah, that's it. We're going to start at 45.7 grains. The manuals for the Spire Point or Spitzer Point version of this bullet. There's 2 of these. So we're just going to copy that data, and we're going to start. I think the range in the manual is like 42 and some odd grains, 42 point something up to 47.7. We're going to start toward the higher end of the charge range. We're going to start at 45.7 and then work our way up in 0.2 of a grain increments until we get, I think we're going to end up at 47.5, I think is what we end up at. So 0.2 below what Western Powders lists as the max. but we're starting basically in the middle of that range, and we're trying to keep our velocity, up to a decent level. Again, I don't know the distance that my buddy shoots. I know he's mentioned having fields that are, decent size, taking further shots than what I typically take. So I just want to make sure that we load up a good round that's got, solid velocity numbers, and I can hand him a ballistics chart. Hey, here you go. It's going to drop X amount of inches at, over a certain distance. Hold here, done. Right, pull a trigger. So repeat process, reload, repeat. So that's it. That's really all we're doing. I'm about to get loaded up here. We got everything zeroed out and all that. So went ahead, calibrated everything. It's been warming up now for about 30 or 40 minutes. But I'll be using my RCBS gold medal match 308 die, the seating die. Let's see, anything else? I think that's about it to seat all these. The overall length that the manual calls for is 2.810 but that's the Spitzer point version. So we're going to load them at that length. That's the only thing. I've got to get the rifle from him. I'm trying to coordinate that now, trying to get the rifle back from him so I can actually take some measurements with the Hornady overall length gauge. We're going to load them at 2.81. Then if we have to come back and seat them a little bit deeper, no harm, no foul. We'll just throw them back in the press and seat them a few thousandths deeper. But I'm trying to remember. I've got my notebook somewhere that's got the overall length that I used initially, and I want to say it was 2.750, but I'm not 100% on that, so I just have to track that down. But that's really the only thing, which is not a huge deal because, again, once I get the rifle, I'll check before I even go to load the ammo anyway and verify. And if it's off, we'll come back and see them a little deeper. No big deal. That's it. So y'all stay tuned. I'm going to load these 10 up. Basically, we're just going to load these first 10. I think I told you we were using Federal gold medal match large rifle primers. 45.9. Yeah, I'm pretty sure told you that's what we were using. Federal gold medal match large rifle primers. Primed everything with my RCBS universal hand priming tool, which, by the way, if you're going to get a hand priming tool, this is the way to go, just in my opinion. It's almost worth buying two of them, so you have one set up as small rifle, one set up as large rifle, just because you don't need a shell holder. So that is, man, that's so nice to be able to go from, I can prime 300 blackout on that, and then I can switch right over and prime 338 Lapua Magnum, and it's just as easy, no issues whatsoever. So highly recommend if you're in the market for a hand primer, I would go with that one. That's the ones that I've tried, the Lyman, the Lee. Haven't tried the Frankfurt Arsenal, but just the ease of operation with the RCBS, and even if you just want to buy one and change it over back and forth, because it has between large and small rifle, it has a different stem to actually seat the primer, and a little different feeding collar between the two, primer feeding collar or whatever. This thing, that's what I'm talking about. You swap that out. It's got an L on it right now for large, so you swap that out to a different one. It takes 2 seconds. So it's a really, really good tool. I've used it now for probably, I don't know, year and a half maybe. I can't keep track. And it is just a game changer. Before that, I used the Lee and the Lyman Easy Prime or whatever all that garbage is called. And it does an okay job. The Lee does really good on I've had a lot of good luck with it, like in 223, and that type of stuff. It was just really where I started to notice the difference was when I step up, like the 338 Lapua Magnum. I tried to prime using the Lee hand primer. I tried to prime one of those cases. These are Lapua, that's Lapua brass. No way. I mean, I about broke the freaking thing just trying to prime one case because the primer pockets are really tight on Lapua brass, which is good. But yeah, I needed something that was way more robust, and the RCBS is it. So that's it. I got to get down. I'm actually, as soon as I get this stuff done, I'm probably going to run down to Mr. Big Guns in Huntsville, check out the reloading selection down there. I haven't been down there in a couple of weeks, been super busy. Run around to volleyball games and stuff for my middle daughter. It's been insane. That season's about to be over with, and now we're going to transition right into basketball. But yeah, so it's just been kind of a hectic and busy. So y'all just stay tuned. I got to get down there, check out Matt and those guys, talk to them, see what all they got in stock. Check out the die selection too. I'm gonna check out and see what they have for 270 Winchester. We're gonna go take a look. I'm using the Hornady stuff now, which is fine. You know, I have no issues with it. I just want to see what they have, and then see what bullet selection they have for 270. Because you know, right now, that's it. I've got the 150s, the SSTs, and then I've got some Woodley protected point 180 grain. So that's all I have for 270. So I've got to go see what they have in stock and up my bullet game in the 277 diameter. So, all right, y'all stay tuned. I'm just gonna load these up, and then I guess I could show. So just run right up in there. And it's obviously 8 miles long, so I'll just have to tweak that, measure it, tweak it, and as I go. But that's it. That's all I'm doing. Working on a buddy's load, and then we'll go from there. So y'all have a good one. We'll catch you next time.